Yeah, I mean, we were moving so fast and, getting caught in the ways of the world. Like, I've learned this, but back to our parents and grandparents stuff is like, when I was growing up, the people that everybody respected were the people that had money and were doing deals. So
right.
And when we had a barbecue, they were on the phone. That's who we all respected.
Yeah.
So even up until 2 years ago, I thought that that's what I had to be.
Yeah.
And that's not don't feel bad for me, but I just was blinded of this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. And so, I feel bad that.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank you for joining another episode of Kingdom Heirs, where faith meets business. Today, I've got a special couple alongside Megan and I. We have Matt and Lexi Teifke. They've joined us for today's episode, so thank you guys for being here. We're going to talk about how slowing down actually can save our marriages. It can save our companies. When we're going so quick, we need to slow down. Even when everything else seems like, why would we slow down? So I just think it's important that we have a moment to talk about that. Matt and Lexi, they met in 2009. They are both graduates of Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They've been married for going on nearly 10 years. They have two boys, George and Louie. We know them well, 4 and 3. They have launched TRE Real Estate in 2015. It's a real estate brokerage firm. They built a property management company up to 836 doors, and they were able to successfully sell it in 2020. I think that's a great accomplishment.
Thank you.
Well done. Matt, Rookie of the Year in 2012, Rookie Realtor of the Year. You also play baseball. Austin finalist, Broker of the Year. And they, Matt and Lexi, have built and established a real estate firm together based in Austin. And they have approximately 180 agents with them. So guys, welcome to today's show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. We're excited. Kingdom Heirs, I'm really appreciative that you guys brought us on, and we're excited to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Matt and I met each other in 2011.
Yes.
You were still a student at A&M in Corpus. I think how long had you been a real estate agent at that point?
Maybe a year, a little bit under a year.
Okay. What was we met? So for those of you who don't know, Megan and I own and operate a remodeling business called Pure Tree Remodeling, and we started that and we moved here in 2011.
Yep.
And so Matt and I met because there was a house that was under contract trying to get closed, but there was an issue with something with the plumbing in the restroom or something, right? In the bathroom, a bathtub, something. It was something weird, but it was a simple fix. And so Matt was he was the buying agent.
Yep.
And they called me in and how'd that go, Matt?
It was great. For my first few things, I was always trying to be a student of the game. I was always taking notes, and I don't know if you've ever heard this, but he was doing some work there, and he was in the bathtub, and I was sitting on the toilet asking him questions. Like, what are you doing over there? James is working. He's like, what are you doing? It's
Can you create some space, please?
If you're going to sit here, help me out.
Go get my wrench.
So that's how it started, and then I remember just getting plugged in with you, and we were doing a Bible study.
Yes, that's right.
And I remember coming to your house and helping you pick up some granite and move it. We had dinner at your house.
Dude, you showed up on your little moped.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got me a job with Mike.
Yeah, Mike Venson.
And it was
paving, brick paving.
Brick paving. And you mentioned something about, you said this the other day, it was like, Matt, if you ever start a REIT, I want to be involved.
Come on. Yep. REIT, for those of you who don't know, Real Estate Investment Trust.
Yeah. So it's been great, and we've stayed in touch, and we've connected again through Gia over the years. And
yes.
It's been an interesting journey because we were both here from somewhere else.
Yes.
And then now I'm back, and it's a pretty cool story we can get into later about when we did move back and you offering me an opportunity to work with you. Yeah. That was God-given, in my opinion, and
that's awesome.
Been really fun.
I think it's cool when you form relationships early on. I think it says a lot about a person who can maintain relationships over years.
Agree.
Versus just having acquaintances and, we're acquaintances, but to actually maintain a relationship, especially when you leave geographical areas.
Yes.
I think that's a key thing to a strength and a quality of people.
I think, too, Matthew's really good at that. And I've always said that God has given you that as an ability, he's just always had this like connection with people, and he's really good at, like you said, maintaining that.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's something you, just like anything, you have to focus on.
Yeah,
right?
be intentional.
It doesn't just happen, and try to plant a lot of seeds and then stay in touch with certain people, and it can be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that I like to ask people is, why become an entrepreneur? Why not just stick to, you went to college. Why not just go get a good 9-to-5 job? And nothing wrong with that. We need people to go out and work and produce. But why did you two decide to become an entrepreneurial couple?
So we joke about this, and to the theme maybe of today of moving too fast. It's interesting because we always say we used to say this, and now it's true.
Yeah.
We said if Lexi never met me, she'd be a second grade teacher, and she'd have a small little house, and she'd have a great, simple life.
Simple life.
And full circle, that is what she's doing.
Yeah.
But
But that's not what you always did.
No. For the last 10, 12 years, and we were moving fast. And the story that I always tell is I was working at Wingstop. I love chicken wings. And I worked there because of that.
Do you like the boneless or do you like the bone?
Bone in, yeah.
Okay, bone in.
Yeah.
You like to really work for it.
Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
So I was working there in high school, and literally I can still like see this moment. We closed at 12, and it was 11:30, and I'm mopping the floor, and I'm just looking at the clock, waiting for the time to pass.
Yes.
And I just realized, like, I can't do this. I can't look at a clock. And on a deeper level, it's really kind of sad to think about that, in the sense of you're wanting time to go by, and life's so short.
Yeah.
You're just like trying to waste your life.
That's
and
right.
so it was just like, I can't look at this clock. I can't be held down by a clock. I got to be an entrepreneur, and real estate was something that I saw as the way to never have to do that.
Okay. Lexi, what did you think about that?
It was always so clear to Matthew that that's exactly what he wanted to do, to not be held by that confined time. And at an early age, I was like, if God is calling you to that, you definitely, there's something there, right?
Yeah.
And so I always trusted that he was being led to that, and I always wanted to support and push him to that. And for a long time, I was kind of stuck in this mentality that in order for me to support him, I need to literally be working right behind him and doing everything he needs me to do.
Yeah.
And it finally came to my realization that I can support him in a different way and still be standing by him and loving him, but also not be doing all the little details, because that was really hard for me to feel like, okay, if you're doing exactly what you need to do to be an entrepreneur, there's so many details that have to be figured out with that.
Yeah.
And so I always took the burden of having to figure all that out, and then realizing that there's a different way, and God will figure it all out.
Yes.
We don't have to be the ones to jump in and figure out all the details. And I think that's the biggest thing that I learned through that. But without holding him back, there's this delicate balance, right, of wanting the best for your husband and wanting everything that he sees to come to fruition, and just trusting that God's going to be the one that does that, not us.
Yes.
Right.
That's mature faith
That's
right
good,
there.
yeah.
That's definitely mature faith.
Interesting. I could see that creating a lot of, especially if that's not your happy place. Supporting your husband, I could see happy place being supportive, but I could see that not being, especially if it's not like your normal, like fast pace. If that's not your normal personality type, I could see that creating a lot of stress.
Or your calling.
Right. It never felt like my calling. And I am more of a slow person. I like to be like, what am I supposed to do right now? And instead of like having a million things and having to go figure that out. And it grew me a lot to have to figure it out. And I definitely don't regret at all anything we did the last 10 years. There's things I would have done differently, but I don't regret it. But it definitely created a lot of unneeded anxiety where, both of our families are entrepreneurial. My grandfather and his grandfather both started their own companies.
Oh, wow.
And so I saw that, but I also saw what a family business did to my family. And so I think in a way, without even realizing it, I was kind of like, had all this bad baggage that I was bringing into that and a lot of fear that I didn't recognize as fear.
Sure.
That just led to a lot of anxiety for me in the first couple years of getting started, and feeling like I had to do it. You know, it felt so burdensome.
Yeah.
You know,
sense of obligation, and then also I should be doing this. I have an obligation to do this. I want to do it, but there's so much. I mean, Megan and I have a similar experience with that.
Right. Well, like almost, did you feel almost like everything was kind of riding, like there was such a delicate balance that if you drop the ball on something, then it'd be dropping the ball on what he was doing? Or
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I definitely felt so responsible for so many things. And in a lot of ways, I think I was, you know, I think I took on so many roles that really I shouldn't have.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point.
That we could have said, you know, this isn't my strong suit. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Matt,
But
why were you allowing that to happen?
He's always been so good at that.
Right? Those are the real questions, right?
No, it's
Yeah.
true. It's yeah, I mean, we were moving so fast, and, you know, getting caught in the ways of the world. Like, I've learned this, like, but back to our parents and grandparents stuff is like, when I was growing up, the people that everybody respected were the people that had money and were doing deals. And, and when we had a barbecue, they were on the phone. But that's who we all respected.
Yeah.
So even up until like 2 years ago, I thought that that's what I had to be.
Yeah.
And that's not like, don't feel bad for me, but I just was blinded of this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. And so, yeah, I feel bad that in a sense, like she was in a role that she didn't want to be. On the flip side, you know, she was teaching. Like I was always trying to solve every problem I could.
Of course, right.
And so when she was teaching was rough. She would break down and cry twice a week. She didn't want to do it. But it was a tough school.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm like, well, let's solve it. Here's the thing we can do: property management.
Yeah,
right.
No stress. Did you sell it as no stress, no tears?
No, we didn't. We had no idea. Even though I was managing,
that's a lot of tears, a lot of crying on all sides.
I was managing in college like 12 doors myself on an Excel spreadsheet, and like, dude. I'm just like.
Did you literally? Is that the only way you did it? Just on an Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah. I made my own little.
Did you ever go to the sites? Did you ever like?
Yeah, I did a good job because it was very few. But like one person they didn't speak English and they wanted to pay the rent in full, and I'm like, yeah, and they paid me cash and I took it, and the owner was a firefighter and he didn't care, you know. So I'm just like,
yeah, making it happen.
So that all being said, I was always, in a sense, the thing I was trying to get at was. She'd get overloaded with property management, and I'm like, well, how do we solve it? Like, let's sell it. Let's stop it. Like, we'll just do it right now. And I think subconsciously she felt like, even though I was trying to help, she probably thought this isn't really the solution.
Yeah.
And so she also kind of stayed there in that sense.
Yeah, and I also felt like I think there was a little bit of pride issue of like, I can figure this out.
Sure.
You know, like I can do it. And I did. I mean, I got really good at it. I built a business. I became a very good leader. I liked leading my team. I was able to find joy in it. And I was able to eventually put myself in a position that I liked, that I enjoyed. But I always had this feeling like it just wasn't right. Like I just wasn't. And I think it was really because I felt I had to stay in that position to support Matt.
Sure.
It was like, to support our business, we have to have property management, and I'm the only one that can do it. I was like stuck in that lie.
And it's
that's right.
Back to the ups and downs. It's like, she's broken down. Oh, now she's getting better. She's strong. She's great at this. Okay, good. This is all good. I'm broken down. Let's fix it. Let's solve it. No, I'm getting better. So it's just that entrepreneur up and down.
So at what point, I think your story, especially related to real estate, because we all know in America, number one way to become a millionaire, to reach that status, the number one way is through real estate. I mean, there's many other ways to do it, but the most obtainable way is through real estate. And so there's a lot of people out there right now in our country that are sweat equity. They're putting it all in, no holds bar. It doesn't matter. We're going to get there. We're going to make it happen. Megan and I, we lived that for years. Like, I think in some respect, we kind of still live that. But it's at a major, I know, I'll let Megan speak on that, but it's a major toll. It's a major toll on the relationship, right? And I think that's the question. In the end, is that all that matters, in the end is how much money we have in the bank or how much mailbox. That's the new like catchphase, right? Everybody's talking about mailbox money. In the end, is that really what matters in our marriage? Is that really what matters as being a kingdom-minded business person?
Sure.
Right? So I think that's the question. Is that really what matters? In the end, is how much mailbox money we have, no holds bar. It doesn't matter if we destroy our relationships around us.
Sure.
We only see them for what we can get out of them.
Right. Yeah. Does it justify the
means?
Yeah. Right. And
Does it?
No. I mean, when there's a question you asked about, would it be easier to have a job? And like, it's so quick. Yes. Sure. And I almost like, and for the first time ever, like a year or two ago, I was like, maybe I should have a job. And I've never ever thought like that. But there's always
something about that reality check.
Shutting off. And but yeah, no, I mean, that's back to me stepping back and thinking I thought I had to be that to be a success.
Yeah.
That I owed it to people before me.
Yes.
And I was just forcing it into an existence. And when you step back and talk about God and everything, it's like, you got to trust that God's going to make it happen.
That's right.
And he always would have. I was just trying to do it on my own, and it was really tough and lonely. And
when did you bring him in? Like tangibly, was there a day in the calendar, the year that you realized that, man, I need you. Like, I've been doing everything I could to get to this point, and I really believe that you would just bless me, that your hand was on me. But I realized that I really didn't turn this over to you. Like, was there like a switch
for me
that took place to something? Like, there was like a moment where you said,
I have a moment coming to Corpus, like like, you know, your relationship goes and you're all in and you get out. And I've always been a believer and read the Bible and gone to Bible studies. But as far as from a business perspective, coming to Corpus.
Yeah, it was a huge leap of faith.
Because like
how many months ago was that?
It was March
of 2023.
2020.
Yeah. So being so ambitious and forcing things into existence and wanting to do something great business-wise, coming to Corpus is like, well, then I'm not, because there's nothing going on here, which I'm obviously not correct about now.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's another blessing, is like, this is where she wanted to be, our family wanted to be, everything lined up where it was so clear that
it's not Austin, so there's no blessing. And if you're leaving the promised land of Austin, Texas, why would a real estate guru leave Austin?
Right.
So why did you to make that decision? I know a lot of guys looked and said you're a fool for leaving.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
But what was more important? In the end, what was more important?
Our family. That's what did it, is like, this is what was best for our family. And then God just starts showing up of like, this amazing house that we have, this job that she has. You offered me an opportunity pretty much the day I got here. Corpus Christi, it's body of Christ.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, like God's showing me something really different, and I'm not forcing this into existence. I'm letting things happen. I'm not trying to meet 10 people every day. We're starting to do some development deals. Then that's just happening. Yeah. I'm not forcing.
Lexi,
what we're doing with these cities isn't what I wanted. It got put in front of us.
Lexi, was it an ultimatum? I know we've had a lot of conversations where we've had look, guys, be real about it, right? I mean, in business households, entrepreneur households, there's a lot of, we call it, what do we call our conversations? Passionate discussion.
Oh, yeah.
We have a lot of passionate discussion.
We like night walks for those, right?
There you go, night walks.
Yeah, we're like, we need
That's
a night
really
walk.
good.
We're going on a walk at night. No one's out.
Yeah, this is good.
And we get out.
Are we weird for this?
No, because sometimes, but sometimes I know when we have one of those big, I don't want to say argument, passionate discussions, something's about to break.
Yes.
Something's about to change. Something's going to take place.
Yeah, like first we talk about a whole bunch of things that have nothing to do with what we were really going to talk about. And it's like a whole bunch of nonsense, and then it's like 5 minutes of a nugget at the end of the conversation. Okay, we're good. There we go.
We solved the issue.
And then this huge weight is lifted, right?
Yes.
It was really interesting. About 2 years ago, we were visiting Corpus just on a fun trip. And anytime we take a trip, one of your questions, what does vacation look like? And at this point, 2 years ago, we would do a lot of like random, spontaneous, let's hop in the car and go somewhere.
Yeah.
We'd still be working. We can work anywhere. It's one of the blessings. And it was so obvious to me, so clear. God just spoke to me. I need you to move to Corpus.
Wow.
And
that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. And I told Matthew, I feel really led here. I think we need to move to Corpus. And he was like, No way.
No way.
Yeah, like
it's a good place to visit.
Maybe
but
we
ain't
just
moving
visit
there.
more. Maybe we just visit more. I think you just want to spend more time here. So over the last 2 years, we would just visit more, and some of our visits were about a month long, and we would just stay. And it started becoming so real to me. But for the first time, when God spoke that truth at me, it was like, don't force it. I'm going to let this happen on my time.
That's good.
And so he knew how led I was here, but I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to keep saying that I want to move here. I'm not going to keep looking at houses. I'm not going to get all excited. I'm really
That's
really,
a big deal.
Really going to let it be, because with being in real estate, I
You guys could have made it happen like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you guys could say, oh, boom, boom, we're doing it. We're done. You have the resources. Here we go.
When the time came, that's what she did.
Well, but to your point, it was the timing, right?
It was the timing. We were on a walk for February 16th. It was his birthday last year. No, 2023.
This
This
year,
year.
yeah.
It was February, yeah. And we were on a walk at Cole Park. We were at the end of the pier, and he was looking out of the water, and he said, let's do it. And I was like, let's move here? And he was like, I'm ready.
Wow.
And it was just like, God spoke to him, and I was like, okay. So on the way home, I said, are you serious? And he said yes. And I sent the email to the kids' school and put in our notice, because they needed a 30-day notice. And I said, God's going to make it happen. And I knew that as soon as he was ready, God would make it all work. And it was literally like, I didn't even have to look at houses or stress out. He knew a property manager who said, I have a house for you. And it was so funny. When 2 years ago, when I told him that God had spoke to me, I said, I would really love to live on Atlantic Street, because it's Cole Park's right there. And that's always a street I used to run down. Yeah. And our house is on Atlantic. And God just was like, here you go. And we didn't even see our house before the day we moved in. We just trusted. And it's the perfect house for us. It really, it's like.
He really cares about us.
We walked in, and I just felt God's presence. And it was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
He really does care about
cares.
all the details.
He really, really cares. Yeah. And it's powerful. And I think what we've got to do is be willing to trust that it's going to be okay. Yeah. That it's going to be okay. Yeah. Right? And I think that's what a lot of, I know a lot of people deal with that. And how do I know that? Because we've experienced that. That's two out of two. So if you law of large numbers, I'm almost certain most families, couples that have their own business, that run their own operation, they experience this. Yes. We've got to trust that our Abba, our Daddy, our Father God, really, really, really cares about our work. But more than he cares about our work, he cares about each of us individually. Yes. And he cares that we became one with him. Mm-hmm. Right? That's that 3 braided cord that cannot easily be broken. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the specialty of, when we say, look, Abba, bless the work of our hands. And whatever that may be, whatever that work may look like, right? I mean, whatever type of business, company, service, or product, whatever it is, and we keep him at the forefront of it, he really will not hold back any good thing from his children. He won't hold it back.
This reminds me of what's that verse? It's like, commit your ways to the Lord, he will direct your paths. Yes. Or is it the seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will come to you. Yeah, that's right. But he'll give us the desires of our hearts when we commit our ways to him. And he's already wanting to bless us, but he's waiting for us to be like waiting on him. Like, don't worry about all these other things. Just
either we I think there's this, so it talks about, so it's trust. Yeah. So it's trust. Yeah. I had the mentality that after 10 years, I think I was 8 years in New York working after we got married. Yep. We were a family of 5, and we were still poor, and I was working as hard as I possibly could. And I still remember asking God, I said, will you change this situation? I mean, you see that I'm working. Will you bless the work of my hands? Will you please involve yourself with my work? My family we're resilient. We're strong. We know you love us, but will you bless the work of our hands? And part of it was like, Meg's like, I really want to leave. I really want to leave New York. And I'm like, babe, why would our family's here? Why do we want to leave? And she said, I really believe we're supposed to move and start something fresh and new. And I really believe God's going to do a work in us. And the amount of faith that it took, because when we live where we live, and we're willing, and that's our nest, our security, it's all of our extended family and so forth. Well, sometimes that can be a form of bondage. Sometimes it can prevent us from really trusting in God as our provider, but instead we're just trusting in our surroundings, what we know, our extended family. Oh, they've got successful. Of course, we're going to be successful. But in many respects, that's actually not true, because then we're trusting in past successes of other people,
Right.
where we haven't even really developed our own trust in how Abba will provide for us if we're willing to become vulnerable.
Yeah.
We have to be vulnerable,
Sure.
and not unnecessary risks. We talk about risks, right? But not unnecessary risks, but vulnerable in his care.
Yes.
His care.
Yep. It's funny. We were before we had come to Corpus Christi. We also were looking for a different pace, because he would work really, really hard, really, really fast, just to do stuff. And I was homeschooling the kids and stuff, and we were involved in co-ops, and it was nice. But he had an investor that he was working for doing renovations, and the investor's like, well, I want to flip some houses in Texas. And so in the
Alan
evenings,
Gilliam, if you're listening, we're
Yes,
in Texas.
Alan.
Come on down.
you are partly responsible.
CPA, New York City. Come on, baby.
But we were looking at properties, and I'm like, wow, look at all these properties in, the south part of Texas. And you can get this big house, and it doesn't need much for this amount
It was
of money.
very attractive.
It was super attractive.
2011, guys.
And I remember
Before the
showing
boom.
I remember showing him, I'm like, look at this house, Corpus Christi. He goes, I would never move to Corpus Christi.
It
He's
is
like,
2,000 miles away from home.
yeah, he goes, maybe like Galveston area, because that's closer.
I remember this.
Oh my
God. He's
It's only
that's closer to
150
New York.
miles closer to New York.
He's like,
Oh
but
my goodness.
never, ever Corpus Christi. And
Those strings were not wanting to get cut.
yeah, and then fast forward, this was like February, and then that same year in August, we had bought a house in Corpus Christi. We had never seen it.
We'd never even
never
visited
even been to
Corpus.
Corpus Christi. Didn't
Never.
know a single
We
person
didn't know anybody
there.
here.
Wow.
And just everything that happened in such a, like, for you guys, it was just kind of like, February, his birthday,
Which was
and
also
then by
just
March,
down the street from Atlantic,
you were
not far
living
from
there.
Atlantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I understand, like, that feeling directed and not pushing it ourselves.
It really wasn't
Because I let
something
Corpus
that we...
Christi be at that point, and
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, yeah, okay.
But, but we had
That's
to...
so cool.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you want to touch on it, but
Go
that's
ahead.
a good story. Like the house that you moved into, and
Yeah. Yeah.
he said they moved in this house. Like, what did we do?
Oh my goodness, that was a sad moment.
Took the girls to Cole Park, and the park was torn down. He's like, they didn't have
So-
electricity. He had to borrow
It was
electricity from his
so
neighbor.
bad. It was so bad.
Yeah.
We bought a lot of houses, a lot of ugly ducklings on the street, and we made them really nice houses. That's what Megan and I did together. We put that effort in.
We talked about it because being in real estate, right?
Yeah.
And we go to their house, and you just kept adding on.
Oh, yeah.
And she's
Oh my
like,
gosh.
The Winnie house.
I remember. I think she was like, "What is he doing?"
Yeah, that's what I do. I just keep adding and
I was
adding
like, didn't
and
you
adding.
ever hear the rule of thumb? You shouldn't
Overbuild
be
a
the
neighborhood?
best house on the street.
We were absolutely the best house. I think 1 square mile or half a mile, something like that, is what the bank was saying. You overbuilt. We cannot appraise
5
your
miles.
house. Yeah, we can, because it was an old neighborhood. It was a mile to the bay, which I thought was great. But
I love living in that area.
that was a fantastic
I
area.
definitely love living in that
We
area.
spent
Cool.
5 years in that house. We had never spent that long in any house. Year and a half, 2 years max. Sell it. Next, we get another project.
Yeah.
And so that was a big deal for, like, something shifted. And when we bought the house in cash. We sold the house in New York. We had enough cash. We bought this one down here, and that literally took the pressure off of us of having to constantly flip.
Yeah.
It took the pressure off to flip.
Yeah.
And because that pressure was off, Meg's like, James, she goes, let's buy land and build a house. I was like, no way, we can't do that. There's
Like,
no
you cannot
possible
go
way.
wrong in London.
It was the
took
new
some
little
convincing, but
it was a little farm town out in the middle of nowhere outside of city limits.
Yeah.
I'm like, even if we don't live there, it will always have a bigger value.
But she
that's
had
gonna
to
be coming up.
She had to prod me
Yeah.
to take money out of, like, the equity. Took a home equity,
Mm-hmm.
cash out refi. Took out cash, and she's like, "Go buy that lot. Go buy that. That'd be the best thing you had to do." And I'm going to put my kids in that good school, because they were basically getting to high school point.
Yeah.
And that's what we did by faith. Super stressful for me because I'd never built a house before, which was the beginning stages of what we do now, because Meg's faith, I didn't have the faith. Meg had the faith, which was transferred to me by just walking it out, because I trusted Megan. I still trust her, right? And that's like those things where you guys showing that you trusted Lexi.
Yeah.
And in that, you're like, the peace of God is there.
Right.
Why? Because you're in unity together.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've really enjoyed with my wife, is that I can take her prompting. I can take it. Even though I said, well, I'm the guy, I'm the leader. No, that's not the submissive part where we're supposed to submit to one another in brotherly love. Then I believe our God adds himself to that.
Yes.
Godly women too. And I mean, at least
Amen.
for me,
Yes.
like anything that I've ever had direction with, like it could be me or it could be God. Like if I'm going on from her, it's always been straight from God. Because I don't know if you're just slower or making less decisions, but I could just be going down this path and it just be totally me.
Yeah.
So probably with you too, it's like when they feel passionate about something and they're convicted, it's probably very really from God.
I think to the point that you're making, again, we talked about this a little bit with one of our previous guests, is that there's this, we see opportunity and we're like, why not?
Yes.
Right.
We can obtain that because we have confidence in what we've already done, which was a big deal to get to that point. And just because the opportunity is there, it does not mean we should walk through that door.
Absolutely.
It does not.
I've really learned that. Like I'm pretty good at talking to people and like getting a deal done, and I shouldn't always do, like, it's like a talent that I have.
Sure.
But I need to like let God do it, because I can almost force anybody, not force, but like I can force a concept into existence. Partnership.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's partner. We can go do this, and I can like make it exciting.
Yeah.
But then it just becomes me doing that.
That's right.
And I have to know that that's a skill that I have, but I have to let it be used for God.
That's right.
And for what?
Because he does actually want to instruct us. He wants to lead us. He wants to prompt us. Daily, we're supposed to have our minds transformed, renew our minds by his word. Like he actually wants to instruct us.
Yes.
And that's the strength. We have the strength as a couple. We have a lot of strength, and we know we can go out and just make things happen. But we need to yield ourselves back to what is the Holy Spirit saying?
Yep.
Right, to us, for that we can then be mindful of our Father's work. Yes. We can build two kingdoms. We can build our own kingdom, right? Or we can build up God's kingdom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah, I've always said
big difference.
Like there's certain people, and I've done this, I'm sure, but when you get into business and you become like the king of your own world, and that's to that concept.
That's
like,
right.
Everyone's listening to you. You get to do whatever you want, but you're the king of your own little world.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It's on shifting sand. That's the problem. Yep. It's shifting sand, right? Because it's hinging on us. And we already know, we got bad days. We got bad weeks. We got bad months. We got bad years. Yeah. I'd rather not have my life built on my foundation.
No.
That is way
we can't handle it anyway.
No way. Right? I don't think we were supposed to.
And it's too much pressure.
It's a ton of pressure.
It's so awesome when you realize, like, oh, wow, I really don't have to carry all this burden.
We don't have to.
That really is what the scripture means. And when you really walk that through, you're like, oh my gosh, I just wish I would have, like, it clicked a lot earlier. I feel like there's so many days you can spend thinking you're a Christian and thinking you're walking it out and not truly believing it and walking it in the right way. And then when you realize that and you really let go, it's like, wow.
I think there's a real thing to be said, that there's a lot of people, they're believers, they're Christians, they're walking with God, and they're entrepreneurs. And that's the problem. And they're entrepreneurs.
Right.
Because they don't really want to trust God with their business. They don't really want to trust God with the daily operations. They don't really want to trust God. Either A, they don't believe he really cares about those details, or B, they don't think that he's going to help them excel to their goal of monetary gain or wealth and so forth.
Yep.
Or C, as well, you have a skill and a talent. Well, you both do, but yours is building a concept up or making it happen. Mm-hmm. But that's where Lexi brings in the speed, right?
To slow it down.
Right, because we can get carried away when we have a natural ability and a talent and a gifting in a certain thing, that we'll just keep on going because there's already a momentum built up there. There's so already something there. But knowing what you were saying, like how to yield it, is really what makes the biggest difference.
True. Like we're trying to do this thing in Kingsville, and I'm like, let's go do Victoria and Goliad and Beeville, and James is like, hold up. And I'm like, no, let's go. But it's a balance, and I agree completely with you. And in this sense, James is helping me.
Yeah. It's true.
Right?
Look, we get excited. We get excited, and I get excited, but I've learned now I mean, I'm only, what, 10, 11, 12 years old? I'm a little bit older than you, but I've now learned that I have to go a little bit slower because I actually want to see it happen.
Yeah.
And so if I realize that, some people say I can have it all, it's not true. You really can't. It's a trade-off.
There's a cost.
There's cost.
Yep.
And I think a lot of husbands that take the leadership role, there's a lot of women that kind of will take a leadership role depending on the business role and what it might be. But for the guys that I've got to show my wife I can do this.
Yeah.
I spent, I don't know how many, maybe 10, 11, 12 years in that mindset that I've got to show Megan I can do this. Trust me, I can do it. Let me show you. We were in the poorhouse
Same.
for so long.
Yep.
Look, we aren't going to be poor anymore. And I felt like I took the reins over from God. I said, I got this. And I am going to accelerate this because I am tired of not having what we need to meet our needs.
But this is also motivation for you, because I'm like, we don't need to have big house. We don't need to have all this extra things. They're just,
Yes.
I just want you.
Yes.
And I want you with the kids. Like, I want peace in our house. Like, I
Yes.
don't want a ton of stuff. And be miserable. Like,
No.
less is more.
We like rice and beans. It's fine.
With a tortilla
Ramen is
shell
good. Yeah.
and some fajita steak.
If you're there laughing
Some
with the
guacamole
kids,
and sour
let's
cream.
do it. Yeah.
Because it always could be better. Because it always could be
Yeah.
better.
No, I feel
Yeah.
Now it's
I
a
don't know
burrito.
about you, but I mean, I have the same thing, and I definitely wish I would have gone slower and regret that. And I was just forcing it into existence at all costs, and would sacrifice anything to do that.
No, but I don't like the word regret though. Like, our kids are still 3 and 4, and like
Yeah, it's a
we're
great
all
point.
sitting at this table talking
great
about it
point.
now,
Yes.
and like God has brought that to
So
all
it's
of
like
us.
all of the
Good
lessons
point,
that we
yeah.
gain.
I
Well,
just-
because everything you gain
Yeah.
from a hard time will shape you, and you have the potential to shape your generation,
Yes,
your kids, because you walk through that lesson.
totally. And that's what I really, really love about working with Christians or being around Christians, is that no matter what, you accept that, you did the same thing, dude. And,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are just, and especially in business, so quick to write people off.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
write them off. Never. That's what they say. I'm never talking to that guy again. I'm never doing. I'm like,
No, it's
what are you? You're perfect,
Yeah,
right?
that's a
And
good
so
point.
it's just
No, I'm not.
There's something that I really love about Christianity that has. I'm sure other people have that in different ways, but Christians, to their core, have a forgiveness and an acceptance that you, in my opinion,
To walk
I
it
love to
out.
hear you have to do that.
Yeah.
You
If
have
you
to.
don't do that, then you don't understand the concept.
That's the
Right.
whole point about
Yeah.
forgiving. That was the prayer that Jesus taught us, was to forgive.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we want God's forgiveness, we have to extend forgiveness to others.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And so that is the prerequisite.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the key thing here in our relationships with our wives and our spouses is that we have to first be willing to be humble to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because pride gets in the way. Again, it's that hey mindset, like, I'm doing this for us. And Meg just pointed, she goes, no, you actually doing it for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm okay with a little less. I don't need all of this. And like, I had to recognize, you're right. I am actually just doing it because I want to do it.
Yeah.
And because the door's open, I can do it.
Yeah.
But at what cost and what speed and what,
Right.
what casualties?
And business is so
Yes.
tough, right? Like, a lot of the scripture that I pull out is from business type stuff, like getting into heaven. What does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was in a meeting a couple days ago, and we're talking about doing something, and like, well, we're gonna crush them. And then and I'm not judging this, but it's like, that's business.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about, like, we really want to crush them. We want to, like,
we have to
want to
crush 'em?
crush people?
Can we just
But I
provide
know
a
that
good
they don't
value
mean
and-
it. I don't mean no. They're talking about like a competitor.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know
Sports
they
or
don't
something.
really. It's
Sports,
but
yeah.
it's real life.
Yeah.
And it's like, what
And
do
they're
we-
really going out to do it.
like, you have to be competitive in business. So my point was, like, there's this slippery slope of, like, we're in this business world and we have to do something, but do we have to do it that way?
I think it's to this point.
But if they're doing it to you, then you almost have to, and it just becomes a.
This is one of the lessons that my father taught me with business. I could count the number of lessons. I mean, it was real simple. Didn't speak a lot, but when he did, we listened, right? And so he shared something real simple. I was getting a little upset. I said, "Man, well, how come this guy gets so much work? This is when we're back in the year. How come he's getting so much work, and I'm starving for work? I do really good work. I know that I do good work." And he could see I was jaded, and he says, "Jay, listen, there's enough work out there for the right guys. There's enough work out
Yes.
there There's enough work. Relax. And he was right.
Yes.
He was right. I didn't, I just wish he would die so I'd get more work. And you go, to your point, I'm going to crush him so I win it all.
Yes.
No, you don't. Not one company is going to serve everybody's needs.
Right.
And quite frankly, if that's your mentality, you probably won't serve those needs very well.
Agreed.
Right? So it's not to the death competition so I can provide my service and sell my product. It's foolishness, man.
Yeah.
So it was just really good advice.
It's great
great.
wisdom.
Great advice.
But my point was like that's the world we're living in.
That's
We're
exact-
like
that's
that's
worldly
actually that's
thought
how you're
process.
supposed to do business.
in the world's perspective.
Right.
But I believe, and that's why we formed Kingdom Heirs, is that God cares about business. He cares about how we meet the needs of others. And he cares
Yes.
about the relationships. He cares about our relationships. Because ultimately, we are not living so that we can fill our coffins with all of the crud that we accumulated.
Yeah.
We're storing treasures in heaven. And the only way you really store treasures in heaven is caring for the least of these. So with the wealth that we're generating, and as we care for our families and we provide for the generations to come related to our families, that's what we're called to do. Generational wealth is a scriptural principle for, we store up an inheritance for our children's children. Mm-hmm. Make your kids still work, right?
Yes,
but the
please.
but the mentality is that we must be about our Father's work. Loving, caring, kindness, forgiveness, gentleness, and all aspects, like the fruit of the Holy Spirit.
Peace, patience,
Yes.
goodness.
Yeah, you get it. Come on,
Love it.
fill it in, right? And in that,
Self-control. Don't
self-control.
forget that.
I think we got it. I almost forgot self-control, right?
That's important.
But in that, the key thing is that we're caring for people's needs.
Right.
We generate wealth to do what? To go buy more stuff. Or we generate wealth, care for our own, and at that point, we're going out and caring for the least of these.
Yeah.
That's Matthew chapter 25, verse 34, is we're caring for the least of these. And when we care for the least of these with the wealth that's being generated, and we're going out and preaching the good news that God's Son did come, he did live a perfect, spotless life. He did die on that cross so that our sins could be forgiven, and he did rise from the dead.
Yeah.
And that started the greatest revolution mankind has ever experienced, right? And we get to be laborers in that. And what a great responsibility that we can generate wealth to fund God's mission.
Yeah.
To reach the lost and tell them he loves them and they can come home now.
Yeah.
And we're a part of it.
Amen.
And it starts with wealth that's generated because it's actually expensive to go out and meet the needs of the least of these.
Yes.
And so I would say, in wrapping up, guys, it's been exciting to see your journey for the past 10 years. And I know that it's actually just kind of beginning.
It is.
And
A
that's
new
the
beginning.
and it's a new chapter in your
It is.
story.
Yep.
And so I think it's awesome that we could share this time together. And like I said, the cool thing is that it's just beginning. It's 10 years in. You said, man, 10 years is a lifetime. The cool thing is that you're actually building upon your successes, but you're also building upon your failures, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what's
They're just as important.
they're just as important. Everyone wants to talk about failures because they're shameful. No, they're not.
No.
They are
No,
not.
loss is
Not
a
in the
lesson.
They are awesome
Loss is a
lessons.
lesson.
They're
They
awesome
are.
lessons. And I'm thankful for the failures that we've experienced because it's kept us humble. It's kept us close to the earth of understanding that no, we are just dust.
We are.
We are just dust. But the grace of God, he calls us up to be part of something greater.
Yeah.
So
And he's sanctifying us every day, right? And
every
it's
day.
to be able to look back and see that journey. It's like,
super powerful.
it is.
Super powerful. So, guys, thank you again for joining us for this roundtable discussion. Hey, guys, thanks again for joining Kingdom Heirs, where faith meets business. If you're inspired by this, if you're encouraged by this, we encourage you just to go ahead and hit all three buttons, hit the like, subscribe, and the bell. We appreciate it. We've got the store as well. We got the swag store, Shop Kingdom Heirs Co. Check it out. That's a great way to support us. I want to thank you to our sponsors, Lighthouse Graphics as well, with helping us with all of our graphics and artwork. So guys, thanks again. And comment down below. Let us know what you want us to talk about. I mean, this is really to be a support to you and the community. And if we don't hear from you, we won't be a support to you. So thanks again, guys. Take care. God bless.